This is from Luke's Gospel in the 12th chapter. He said to his disciples, "Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat, or about your body, what you will wear. For life is more than food, and the body more than clothing. Consider the ravens. They neither sow nor reap. They have neither storehouse nor barn, yet God feeds them. Of how much more value are you than the birds? And can any of you worry add a single hour to your span of life? If then you are not able to do such a small thing as that, why do you worry about the rest? Consider the lilies, how they grow. They neither toil nor spin. Yet I tell you, even Solomon in all his glory was not clothed like one of these. But if God so clothes the grass of the field, which is alive today and tomorrow is thrown into the oven, how much more will he clothe you, you of little faith? And do not keep striving for what you are to eat and what you are to drink. Do not keep worrying, for it is the nations of the world that strive after all these, and your Father knows that you need them. Instead, strive for the kingdom, and these things will be given to you as well." This is the word of the Lord. Calvary, you have a history of being risky, of trying out new things and not letting worry, not letting fear and doubt cripple you. 3 years ago, almost to the day, I came and knocked on the door of Calvary and sat down with Nita Pringle and laid out this idea that seemed kind of risky about being pastors, about partnering together to be the staff, the pastoral staff of Calvary Presbyterian Church. Nita chewed on it pretty well, brought it to some of you. You all chewed on it, and you rolled the dice. You were risky. But there was worries, right? There were fears, there were uncertainties of who's going to be the pastor, who we're going to look to have answer these questions. Those were legitimate concerns and worries. But you didn't let that cripple you from trying something bold, something unique, something that kind of breaks the mold of what we typically see in church. So you have that in your blood. It is deep in your DNA, in the fiber of your being, is not letting that get the best of you, of worrying about what is next. But we're all human beings, right? We still do this. We still worry about things. You might be worrying about a lot of things. We've been in this season of worry. We've been worrying about what national and global leadership will look like. It's been a long, ongoing thing of worrying about what that will look like for us, what that will look like for you. Some of you might be worrying about your safety. Is the world as safe as I thought it was? Are my children, are my grandchildren going to have the safe and friendly and inviting upbringing that I had? The world seems so much more dangerous. We worry about our safety. You might, like me, be worried about the environment. That the things that we do, the human things that we do, cause our environment and the world around us to change. And what we do is not sustainable. So what is going to happen next? We worry. Some of you worry about the monster that is cancer. Will we beat it? If I'm diagnosed, will I beat it? Will we have a cure? Or are we just seeing how bad this is really going to get? We worry. This Tuesday, it seemed like it was so long ago after the end of this election, and a lot of us were worried about what was going to happen and how the world was going to move on, no matter who got elected, no matter what side of the aisle you fell on. And Tuesday seemed like it was so long ago, but since then, we've been worrying about divisiveness in our country. Since then, there's a video being passed around on social media that shows a group of people pulling out a Trump supporter and punching him in the street. There are countless, almost endless accounts already of middle school, high school, college students who are chanting out hateful things in their hallway to families of immigrants. Signs and terrible words being written on walls where people of color work and and relax and play. That's worrisome. That's fearful. That it might be as bad as the worst nightmare we planned for. We worry about that. It scares us. There's a man that many of you know who has come and sung here at church named Gus Mercante. He also holds up a downstairs during Christmas Bazaar. He has one of the stands where people come and visit from him. He shared a post on Facebook of his neighbors who are a married gay couple who had a sign, a note written on their windshield using one of the most hateful words you can for that group of people that said, "Your marriage is about to be invalid. Pack your bags and move out." Here in Wilmington. We're worried. I'm worried about what comes next. So a line that we commonly hear from people when we start to worry is people say, well, God's in control. God has a plan that will ease our worries and our fears. When we hear that, when people say that, it's true. It is true that God is in control and God has a plan, but it goes so much more deeper than what we think it means. Than what we say is just a quick antidote to, here's why we should feel better, because God's in control and God has a plan. There is a plan. God had a plan from the very beginning, a plan for creation and a plan for existence, for it to happen. There's a term that we use in the church. It's not just a church word, but it's called sovereignty. That God is in complete control. All authority and how things operate, function, work, move is done by the work of God. The sovereignty of God, being in control. But part of that control, part of that plan that God has was for this. What you and I do, what the world does as it exists, was supposed to be in harmony. It was supposed to be in balance so that we didn't have to worry or to fear or to be scared. There's a term that the Hebrew writers use for this, and it's called shalom. Many of you have heard it before, seen it in the Old Testament. We typically translate shalom as peace. Now, it means God's peace for you. It means that, but so much more. Shalom is that balance, is that wholeness, is that perfect harmony, is completeness. It is what the plan for this existence, for our creation, is supposed to be. But it gets messed up. Right? We've all witnessed that the plan seems like it doesn't work out the way it was supposed to. And Jesus, in this morning story, is telling the disciples that very thing. He says, see the ravens. They don't worry about where their food comes from. They don't worry about if they're going to be able to find a tree and build a nest and be able to hatch their eggs and have their offspring and fill the air. They don't worry about that. The lilies of the field, the actual translation is more like a wildflower. They just spring up out of nowhere. They don't plan where they're going to spring up. They don't plan on, when am I going to have water coming, and is the soil going to be just right, and is the sun going to come out enough? They do it. They live in that completeness. They live in that wholeness of the plan that God had for creation, for it to be in harmony, for it to just work. But that plan of perfection, the plan of harmony, we can mess up. We can make it hard for ravens and for birds to find places to live. We can cut down trees. We can eliminate their food sources. We can impede on their natural setting to where they can't live in that shalom, live in that completion, that perfect life that God has set out from the beginning. We can impede on the wildflowers. We can build more sidewalks and roads and driveways that make our style of living much more comfortable to where they're not allowed to spring up and surprise us with their color. It doesn't change the initial plan that God made. It just makes it harder for it to happen. So we can impede. We can get in the way. But we can impede in the other way too. We can also help. We can help existence. We can help creation. We can make sure that ravens have places where they can nest and hatch eggs and eat. We can make sure that there are places where we don't touch, where green things do what they're supposed to do, that they pop up out of the ground because they've had rain and sun and soil. We can help the plan work out. See, Jesus in this story where he's talking to his disciples, he's telling them that they're worrying about the wrong things. He says you're worrying about your food, about your clothing, and life is so much more than those things. But he's not talking to people who actually need food and actually need clothes. He's talking to the ones who want more, who want better food, who want to be able to go to nicer restaurants, who want to be able to buy fancier clothes and more clothes. We worry about stuff like that. Stuff that is not part of the plan for wholeness, part of the plan for completion. Jesus says these words to the disciples at the end. Instead, strive for the kingdom, and these things will be given to you as well. Striving for the kingdom. Striving for that plan, striving for shalom, a place where we all feel complete, a place where we all feel whole and feel at home. When you do that, when you strive for the kingdom, when you strive for the plan that God set out at the dawn of existence, when you do that, you encounter God. You encounter the presence of the God who crafted existence, who made matter, who made all of this possible. When you strive for the kingdom, when you strive for that plan, you encounter God. See, that striving is a partnership. Is us coming along next to what God is doing and saying, I want to be part of this. I want to be part of what it means to be the kingdom. See, Jesus' call is to not worry about those things, but to go and encounter God. To go and partner with that plan of it being perfect, of it being whole, of it being complete. So what does that mean for you? For your day-to-day, week-to-week life? How can you be a place where yourself, where others, where neighbors, where community members, where strangers on the street, where all of creation can encounter God? Can encounter the plan, the original plan for us to be whole? That's easy to say, right? That I can be a place where others and myself and those around me can encounter God. But we know that it gets tricky. We know that life sometimes gets messy and hard and difficult, and we again start to worry about what's next. But part of this plan, part of God being here on earth with us, we've been given this gift called faith. Something that we can fall back on when we're not certain, when we're not sure if God's presence is here or is with us. We can fall back on faith, and that faith reminds us that God is present in your life, in the lives of your friends, the lives of your family, the lives of people on other sides of this globe. That faith is there to hold us up. So Calvary, you are about to step into uncertainty. You're about to walk on rocky roads of not knowing what is next, of not being clear that what is the plan for what's next. But what I've had the joy of being able to do is watch you be faithful. To watch you be a community that knows that they are protected, they are nurtured, and they are held by God. So when it gets uncertain, when it gets a little messy and a little murky of what is coming next, fall back on that faith. The faith that I have seen in all of you. A faith that leads you to welcome new people in your doors. People who might not look like you, might not come from the same places that you have. A faith that pushes you to go to hospital rooms, to beat me there, to send cards and phone calls. A faith that has held you together to now. Through smooth, through rocky, through rough. You have been a faithful people. You have been a place where we can encounter God. As you've partnered with this plan, partnered with shalom, partnered with the idea that wholeness is something worth striving for. Completeness is God's mission here on earth. So Calvary, continue to be those missionaries as you continue to partner with what God is planned to do in this world. To continue to be a place in this building and in your lives out in this community where people, where creation can encounter God.